Oh, y'all, I am so excited to talk to you about disco balls. You heard me right, disco balls. They're bright and they're beautiful and they're the perfect addition to every single party. At the same time, when I think about how I've navigated the world and the range of hardships that I've experienced, disco balls have really helped me through it. When I was 15 years old, I decided to sit my parents down and I was going to come out to them and tell them that I was gay. And so I did it, and rather than being met with joy and affirmation, I was met with violence from my father. When I came to, I instantly realized that I was no longer safe at home. The world as I knew had completely broke. I didn't have a loving family anymore like I thought, and the person who was supposed to provide me protection, well, he let me know that I wasn't worth protecting. I really did think that that's where my story would end. So I would like to imagine my world at 15 to be like looking into a mirror. We build our understandings of our worlds through the reflections that we see every single day. These reflections can tell truths about ourselves and where we come from. They can also affirm every single one of our realities. Simultaneously, these reflections can also tell us lies about ourselves, like, because I don't look like everyone else, therefore I'm not good enough, or I am unlovable, or I am unworthy. And so at 15, the reflections that I had seen after coming out in the world as I knew it, religion told me that choosing to be gay, well, I wasn't good enough anymore, and that I was choosing destruction. Society told me that I wasn't man enough. My friends made fun of me. My family let me know that I was pretty easy to abandon. And my father showed me that I wasn't worth protecting. I remember looking in the mirror every single day and feeling so out of place. And I wonder for how many of us do we find ourselves staring at that reflection and seeing something that we don't like or wishing another reality. I feel like that's a common experience for many of us, especially young people, right? The realities that they experience and feel are different than what the world shows us. And so we find ourselves examining a cost, and that cost is living authentically. We see folks go to great lengths to have a perfect picture life, to have everything down just right, to fit the status quo. And for some of us, we realize that that's just not our reality. So the cost becomes our reflections, our perceptions. Well, those got to shatter. They got to change. Unfortunately, my story isn't very unique. For many LGBTQIA2S folks, this is a common experience, and sadly, sometimes with worse outcomes. But I stand here in front of you recognizing that I have a privilege, and that privilege is that my story continues on. We're in the thick of COVID. I'm 31 now, and I decide to do the millennial right thing, and I start a podcast. I don't know what I was thinking. And I wanted my very first guest to be my mom and dad, because I wanted to ask them the hard questions. I wanted to ask my dad, why did you do it? I had him captive, and I wanted to hear his response. Because in my head, I had built up that he was going to say, well, it's because I hate gay people. Or it's because religion told me that I couldn't have a gay son. So I was ready to fight. I was all in. I was ready to go. I can't tell you how wrong I actually was going. See, for my father, he is a career construction worker. Gentle love was not something that we got as little kids. He knew how to treat us tough, how to show us how the world really worked. And I also completely recognize that the world that he experienced growing up was way different than mine, especially since he grew up in the 70s and the 80s. But thinking about it, for him, the world as he knew it and the reflections that he had received, religion told him that by my coming out, I was choosing a path of destruction. Society told him that I wasn't worth having around. His friends made fun of people like me, and well, my family let him know very clearly that choosing to be gay was unacceptable. So we get into the interview, and I say, okay, Dad, why? Why'd you do it? And to my surprise, he said, Stephen, the only thing I know about gay people is that they get kicked out, they do drugs, they become homeless, they get AIDS, and they die. And I didn't have any other way to tell you that that is not a life that I wanted for you, and that is not a life that I saw for you. Later on in the interview, I asked him, well, how do you love me now? We're obviously in a relationship now. How is it that this can exist? And he said, you have a life unlike any other gay person I've known. I must have got something wrong the first time. Boom. Everything shattered. We were both trapped in front of our mirrors. I was trying so hard to be seen and validated and loved, and he was trapped in the gaze of his past, of his story, of his upbringing. At 15, when everything went down, oh, y'all, I let that man go so fast. I shattered every expectation I had. I said, if my father can treat me this way, nah, I'm good. Next, I don't need family. But then at 31, the gift I received and the blessing I believe he experienced was that everything was worth shattering. That I was worth building something new together. Reacting and clinging to our perceptions is the most human thing that we can do. The challenge is, how do we see each other in all of our fragments? I know it's not what we hope to see sometimes, but I promise what's left and what's there is, yes, broken, but still beautiful. How often then are we willing to pick up the pieces together, pick up the fragments with someone else, and build a new reality? Friends, I believe that in order for us to experience the fullness of our relationships, sometimes things need to break. We must be willing to shatter our perspectives. We must be willing to shatter our beliefs. And sometimes others have to be willing to shatter what they see, believe, experience, and sometimes it doesn't shatter. Hey! So what do we do in reality-shattering moments? Well, in the immediate, we react. You're going to do it. We breathe. We pause. And then we ask the next question. Am I seeing the other person in their reality? Because it's likely that while their life is shattering, your life is shattering too. In the long term, the hope is that we evaluate and we take a look at the reflections that we see every day, and what does it take for us to continue to shatter? What does it take for us to understand the movements in our souls, in our spirits, and that's happening on a day-to-day basis, and how can we see each other in our fullness? That's the beautiful opportunity, and you know what? It doesn't just happen once. We shatter over and over and over and over and over again. My father and I, after that interview on the podcast, it didn't stop there. We still had to talk about marriage. We still had to talk about family, shattering over and over and over again. But I promise, friends, it's worth it. So if you ever find yourself in earth-shattering, reality-shattering conversations, remember the disco ball. Break the old mirrors. Create new reflections. Embrace the breaking or the not breaking. And celebrate. Celebrate remembering what happened, where you went, what happened when you were there, and how did you come out. Continue to celebrate it every single day. Today, my father and I have a healthy, strong relationship, longer than we've been in conflict. And it's because we were both willing to live life as if we were two little disco balls. Thanks.